All right, let's talk about TikTok. Taking that legal battle to the U.S. Supreme Court, the federal government has ordered the Chinese-owned app to shut down or be sold to an American company by January 19th, citing national security concerns.
Analytic Dreams video on Spotify to see the video along with the audio, because ladies and gentlemen, it is finally here. After covering this topic extensively, with it starting really all the way back in November when TikTok and Billboard was teaming up to launch a top 50 songs chart, right? So ultimately, TikTok was building up a lot of leverage in the US economy to the point where the biggest music label in the world jumped out of the woodworks and was basically saying, hey, how about you pay us more to have our artists on your platform? Because we basically don't like the amount of leverage you have. TikTok was like, we don't have to pay y'all. We have everybody in the world. Guess what? UMG left, took all of his artists, Taylor Swift, Drake, Post Malone, all of them included, right? And then after Taylor Swift, being the biggest gangster in the industry, basically told UMG that she was going to pull what she did towards Scooter Braun if UMG didn't reinstate all those UMG acts on TikTok. Coincidentally, that whole debacle was smoothed over and the UMG artist was able to come back to TikTok. Following that, and this is all on my podcast, so as far as TikTok Analytic Dreams, it should pop up on whatever podcast platform you listen on. Following that, in March, TikTok now has beef, not with the biggest music label in the world, but now they have beef with the biggest government in the world, as US came out and was like, hey, we have a bill that could pass if you don't divest to US companies. As far as the specific operations of TikTok in the United States, if you don't divest that in the algorithm to a US company, we have a bill that could potentially ban TikTok. This was when it was speculative. They was literally saying House passes bill that could ban TikTok, but it had a lot more loopholes to jump through, right? And then it basically got through all of the loopholes. And then TikTok is to the point where they realize the US is actually serious. They're not bluffing like UMG was. They've went through all the levels of getting this bill passed to the point where now TikTok is basically showing up to court to try everything possible to delay the shutdown that could potentially happen January 19th, 2025. So to put in a concise fashion, basically TikTok is going to be banned, right? Unless they divest to America, to an American buyer, or succeed in the U.S. legal battle. Which one of y'all think is going to happen? Either they divest or they get banned. They're not winning this case. It's in the U.S. It's a case in the U.S. I know we talk about, oh, the justice system is going to provide justice. But the whole time, the people behind the scenes pull the strings. So the justice is what they say it is. We don't care that we have Instagram and Twitter doing the same thing. You specifically are going to divest to US or else. So basically that's what TikTok said. So they're going to get banned unless they divest. I am predicting that if they don't divest, I believe it may be a hot take. I do believe United States do not want to take down TikTok. They like the way that the ecosystem has turned a lot of brains into zombies, right? The whole purpose of social media was really to connect with the outer world. Well, not outer world, but out of your region, things of that nature, to make it easier to connect with people. The social media now is everybody faking a lifestyle and having all type of detrimental mental health effects of too much consumption of social media, because they're looking at a life that's already fabricated, but now they're trying to implement that and fall into depression when they can't live up to that false picture of what people put on social media. Because if you don't know, if TikTok ends up getting banned, it's going to be a lot of repercussions from that, because currently they have 170 million US users, which means this will disrupt a lot of people's mental health. Now, of course, their mental health shouldn't be tied to social media in the first place, but hey, we are in 2024. You could easily, through conversation, tell whose mind has been corrupted by TikTok. There's a reason why there's things such as TikTok brain. And also, one of the main reasons that I'm proud that the podcast is successful, because I ain't gonna lie to you, as far as social media, I have not figured that out. As far as figuring out how to get people's short attention span to pay attention to social media clips. So as far as Notorious Mass Effect, I'm glad that everybody comes back week after week to tune in, because I'm not gonna lie, those social media platforms, I ain't figured it out yet. So as far as long form content, seems like I have something working for me. But as far as short form, obviously, you know, clips go viral here and there, but as far as consistently, I just think the frying of attention spans basically makes it impossible to keep people's attention for longer than like 10 seconds on a social media platform. Anyways, so with that being said, TikTok will remain usable for the duration of time until January 2025, right? And then the US came out, because I believe they said something to Apple, I believe. Because the US came out, I don't think I have it on here, but I remember they told Apple and Google, I believe, so they told Apple and Google to prepare for TikTok's removal for the app stores, which is definitely that's like a villainous tactics. I'm not gonna lie to you. Who in the world comes out like, hey, you better be prepared to take that down? Like, my brother, I'm pretty sure they've seen the news. I'm pretty sure they're ready. So as far as the US saying that, I think is another one of their marketing tactics to let ByteDance know, like, hey, we are serious. We will take you completely off of United States soil if you do not divest into our US companies. Now, that does bring another interesting tidbit into the fray. So as far as the use of a VPN, I do believe certain content creators that majority make their income from that specific platform may go to those methods. That is something that I believe won't come to fruition, because I do believe either US is going to forcefully take it, or that sounds so crazy, or ByteDance is going to sell. I don't assume US really wants to take TikTok down. I believe they do want to see how in the world TikTok's algorithm is set up. So when push comes to shove, I wouldn't be surprised if they just run up in there and take it. So TikTok's algorithm is probably one of the more valuable marketing systems in the past 5 years. Because for musicians, you could have a track that came out in like 2017, 2019, and basically, if you blow up on TikTok, you might as well have dropped it in that day, right? Well, on that day, because now it has a brand new life from a track that's already been out and had no traction, but now TikTok picked it up organically, and now it's just having millions upon millions of listeners, because that's the type of impact TikTok has on a lot of independent musicians. Now, you would say that doesn't Instagram, YouTube, Twitter do the same thing? Technically it does, but as far as the powers that be having more manipulative hands on the algorithm, it's a little harder. And I wonder why that is. I wonder why TikTok's algorithm is more independent friendly as far as people blowing up than Instagram, Twitter, or don't let me get started. So anyways, the algorithm is the main thing I believe the US wants. They don't care for TikTok. They care for the tool that the algorithm has been working on, because that's the most valuable asset for what they want as far as in the offer, or not even the offer, the potential ban to avoid that. Basically divest your algorithm to basically a US buyer, right? So that's what TikTok is facing. The US Court of Appeals in DC denied ByteDance's request for a pause on the law. No diddy, leaving the company reliant on a potential Supreme Court intervention. Now, the main things is still the main thing. TikTok is going to be banned January 19th, 2025. Objectively speaking, the government is saying they will ban TikTok in US app stores starting January 19th, 2025. Think of Flappy Bird, but on a whole, well, yeah, it's the same as Flappy Bird, just like a social media platform instead of a one-off viral game. So that's basically it. I mean, for the main thing that you should take away, I do believe that the US wants to keep TikTok's algorithm. I do not believe they will let TikTok go to the wayside without figuring out how in the world did TikTok's algorithm work and how can we get it under our control. Because either they're going to shut it off completely, or they're going to control it. And I'm willing to bet they would prefer to control it, whether it's by force or by them divesting into a US company. So with that being said, TikTok has till January 19th, 2025. And in an alternative route, if the Supreme Court intervenes, that is the Hail Mary of Hail Marys as far as being able to intervene to gain TikTok a reprieve, right? So, yeah, man, TikTok's in a sticky situation, and I don't know if they can dance their way out of it. So with that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about TikTok being threatened by the U.S. to potentially be banned by January 19th, 2025, unless ByteDance, which is the company that owns TikTok, sells the app to an American buyer? And ultimately, who do you think, or what do you think will happen, and what do you think is going to be the ultimate outcome to this whole entire fiasco?